Hello, and welcome to another episode of EQcast. I'm your host, Christy Pritchard. Thanks so much for joining us on this unconventional sideshow of healing and self-betterment. This is where you can find unscripted conversations with authentic humans sharing their trials and triumphs around their emotional wellness journey. We keep it light, but we can get dark, so fasten your seatbelts. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. I want to welcome Nate Jackman to the show. Hey Nate, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, no problem. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Nate is a fellow podcaster whose content is focused around having hard conversations about the realities of the food and beverage industry and the health consequences that can come with that lifestyle. He also dabbles in coaching, giving people the nudge and encouragement they need to push through and make better, healthier choices. Yeah, I think I thought about summed it up, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. Nate and I actually just connected today through our mutual friend. And today is going to be a much less structured conversation rather than having like interview-y kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're just going to chat. Yeah.
Super chill.
Super chill. We just going to chat.
It's kind of how my podcast rolls as well.
Yeah. Nice.
Very, very off the cuff. I actually let people start out just in sort of a organic conversation.
Yeah, awesome. That's kind of how it should be. Ours rolls off like that occasionally, but sometimes if it's someone who works better with structure, you gotta work with whichever. Some people work better with structure. I personally am more of a fly off the cuff, but I don't know. Teach their own. I think today we did kind of have a guideline as to what we would talk about, and that was imposter syndrome.
Yeah. So basically, as soon as you think about wanting to do something or setting a goal for yourself or trying to achieve something, your brain's automatically going to go shut off and go, oh, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, you're not capable.
No,
yeah. Who do you think you are?
Yeah, no way. And actually, that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
That's pretty okay. You could stop and go, hey, look, like my body's working right. My brain's working right.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to keep you safe.
Exactly. It's protecting us. Our ego is protecting us, that little fucker.
And it's the same thing. It's the same thing when you get that gut instinct in your, like in the middle, in the pit of your gut when you're like about to put your foot down to cross the street and a bus comes all of a sudden.
Yeah,
stop. It's like, hey, well, it's saying, we're about to do something super out of the ordinary. This is out of our wheelhouse. And maybe we should hold back a bit. But the truth about it is it's all in our heads. And, once we can get over that.
100%. And and that voice is so unanimous with pretty much everyone that I know. It shows up differently for each person, but the basis is there. The basis is the same. It's like, you can't fucking do this. Who do you think you are? So recognizing that, whatever it sounds like for the individual, it's all kind of same but different. But I personally still struggle with getting over it. Even starting my YouTube channel, I'm really uncomfortable with the thought of being on a video that I can't, because when I edit out my ums and ahs, I can edit out my voice, no problem. But when it's on video, I'm going to look like a robot, like jilting around, because you can see where I've cut out my ums and ahs and my guests' ums and ahs. So I'm like, just really wanting to, my imposter voice is being like, beat it, bitch. Who do you think you are?
I was going to say my first episode, I just put it out. I recorded 4 and I put out 1, and then I'm going to wait a couple weeks, see how that goes, and then put out another one.
Nice. And what is it called too, by the way? Might as well mention it quickly.
Hospitality for Humanity. That's number 4 humanity.com.
Awesome. Hospitality for Humanity. I'll put that in the show notes as well, but just might as well give it a little shout out.
And I've got, that on like Instagram, Twitter, and stuff like that. Hospital for Humans.
Awesome.
It was weird because I was going to call my coaching program, my coaching side that.
Oh, okay.
And then all of a sudden this podcasting came up, where everybody wanted to have chats and we wanted to like talk to people about these things and have these conversations. And I was talking about, hey, nobody's having these really serious conversations.
Yeah.
Nobody's talking about mental health, and nobody's, there are people that are starting to do it. Yeah. But more people need to do it to make it a normal conversation.
Exactly. To make it a regular part of our daily lives. Yeah.
There's too many people out there that are just like, bro, just get it done. Just fucking do it. And it's like great to say that and have those motivational moments with your friends and, family and stuff. But at the same time, it's good to see like, hey, how do you feel?
Yeah. Heck yeah. Yeah. How is this progress? Like, how are you feeling about your progress or lack
Mm.
thereof or whatever the case may be? Yeah. Those, and though, like, I find the masculine energy types tend to have these conversations a lot less. Like, my feminine energy friends and we tend to have these conversations a little bit more and more so now that we're getting older. But do you find that now that you've kind of started dabbling into this, that your friends are a bit more, your masculine energy friends are a little bit more perceptive to having these conversations?
Yes, some are, and some that aren't, I don't talk to anymore.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because that became such a
Yeah.
blocker that
Yeah.
I just couldn't even have that conversation anymore with them.
Well, good for
And
you for having that boundary.
yeah,
That's a boundary. Yeah.
you have to stop and go, hey, you know what? I can't keep martyring myself on this issue with them. Like it's not my place. They're not ready.
Yeah.
Like I started meditating to balance my masculine and feminine energies a long time ago.
Awesome.
And it's funny, when you call somebody or you're talking to somebody that you want to date, or like you're talking to them and it rolls out on the cuff of your conversation off the cuff. They were just like, well, what are you doing today? What were you doing today? And it's like, oh, I was just meditating on balancing my
My
masculine and
masculine
feminine
feminine
energies.
energies.
And I was like,
That's
well, hold
awesome.
on.
Like, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute. See,
Are
and
we ready
having
to?
that as a part of regular conversation too, because I know in the recent past I've mentioned that to other people, and they're like, "What do you mean we have both?" And because it's not a regular part of conversation, unless you're kind of in the emotional wellness realm and in this kind of area, we don't. It's not mentioned in regular society and like day to day life, But we all do. It's an integrated part of our makeup. But just some of it is a little bit more pronounced than others, or for me personally, I'm a little bit more of a feminine energy, but I have both. And sometimes my masculine can really come out when it comes to business. But then when it comes to other things, each one is useful in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
But, and to balance those, to make them a little bit more on the regular, on a keel. So, what is your meditation? It just helps.
Actually, it's a guided meditation.
Yeah. Awesome.
And it's called Sacred Feminine. It's an audio book.
Cool. Yeah.
I can
And we
share
can
it with
link it.
you.
Yeah.
I can link it. It's pretty cool. They also have other different ones, like getting in touch with your feminine, which is very good for people who are very heavily into the masculine,
Yes.
that are interested in this sort of thing, that want to branch out and be like, oh, hey, what's that? And for guys listening, it's not weird.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
Thank you for saying that.
You're not doing anything out of the ordinary.
Absolutely
This is
not.
actually pretty cool. It'll actually make you a stronger human being, just to be able to be in touch with that side of you. And going back to the imposter syndrome,
right.
like having that balance helps you handle that so much better, because you can sit back and go, okay, so what's happening right now? Like I'm trying to launch my YouTube and I'm scared.
Yeah.
But like you're able to have that conversation with yourself and be like, oh, well, you know what? That's just a little voice inside my head. Because, somebody told me, and you were just talking about this earlier. I don't know if it was when we were recording, but we were talking about that fake it till you make it.
Yes.
And I've been told that so many times in my life by mentors. And I was like, what the shit are you talking about?
Yeah.
Seriously, what are you talking about? And I started realizing it in my bar career, in the later parts of my food and beverage career, because I was struggling so much as a chef. And I think that's why I burnt out so much, to be like real and 100% legit and like knowledgeable and everything. So I was just burning candle at so many ends,
right?
Besides drinking every night, and,
of course.
But like, and then when I got into the bar side of things, it's like, you know what, this is easy. To just bullshit your way and be like, yeah, okay. But then you all of a sudden you end up with this bag full of knowledge that you're spewing at people, and you're like, I'm not really faking it anymore.
Yeah, totally. And then it just becomes, it's like this seamless integrated moment where it's challenging at first because you're putting yourself into a new position. But then, just like anything, with a little bit of repetition or a little bit of practice and immersion, it becomes natural for a while. So it's not even really faking it till you make it. It's having enough confidence in yourself that you can do it, because you can. It's not even faking it. You can actually, anyone can do anything the fuck they want.
Yeah.
But it's just having that confidence, and then with time it seems integrated. But it's taking that step, that's the kicker for me, is like that one initial little bite in front of that bus.
Exactly. And that's the same approach that I try to take in my coaching. So
awesome.
Seamlessly. It's like, here I go with the likes again. And it's where people that have been so embedded into a lifestyle of choices of, hey, like it's normal to sit down and have 8 beers at the end of a night or the end of a day,
Yeah.
and eat a couple hot dogs and a bag of chips,
Yeah.
and say, oh, screw it, I'm just gonna sit on the couch, I don't want to go to the gym. And that's all imposter syndrome, because they're going, oh, it's not for me, it's not my thing, like that's not me.
Yeah.
This
I'm
is
not the
me.
health conscious guy.
I'm
This
so
is
far
who I
gone.
am. So they
Yeah.
think, even
And
though it's,
I did that for so many years. I did it personally for about
yeah.
probably 8 years, maybe more.
Yeah.
I did a couple flailing attempts there,
Yeah.
here and there, but it didn't work out very well.
So when you got over your own imposter syndrome, how did you start having those conversations with yourself? Did you start balancing the feminine and masculine energies first, or did you kind of
Yeah,
start working your way?
that came first. But what really came first? This is a big kicker. About a year and a half ago, is I had a panic attack.
Yeah. Oh wow.
I thought I was having a heart attack.
Oh shit. That's a
I
bad
called
one.
911, and I ended up being in the hospital.
Holy.
And I talked to the doctor, and the doctor was like, "You can't continue the way you've been going."
Oh wow.
He's like, "It's not sustainable."
Yeah.
He's like, "Just want to have a chat with you," because he's like, "You seem like you got your shit about, like, you can
You got a
understand
head
this
on your shoulders.
conversation,
Yeah.
right? You got a head on your shoulders." And I took it seriously, and I quit everything I was doing, even sugar,
Awesome. Wow. Good for you.
and cigarettes, well, not
Yeah.
cigarettes, and
Yeah.
I was like straight into ketosis and doing all these things, exercising every day at 9 a.m., waking up, going, and just walking out my door was the rule. I wasn't
Yeah.
allowed to shower. I wasn't allowed
Just
to
get
eat
the heck
anything.
out of the
I had to
door.
get up. I
Yeah.
had to put my shoes on, and I had to go out for 5 kilometers and come back.
Nice.
And once I started realizing that change was happening in me, because other people were seeing it,
Yeah. Ah.
and
Did
other
that have
people,
did that have a huge impact on you? Is just
yeah.
noticing that other people were noticing? Did you notice like
Yeah.
first, or I guess the second?
I mean, I felt better,
Yeah.
but I was also just having a lot of that, like, anxiety, and coupled with that imposter syndrome of, what are you doing? This
Yeah.
isn't you.
Yeah.
You're totally not capable of doing this.
Yeah. But you're doing it.
You're full of shit, man. But now it's like I'm slowly becoming this poster boy for
Awesome.
health and sobriety
And
for
that's
everybody.
awesome. Right on. How long have you been sober for now?
A year and a half.
Awesome. Good for you.
And it's not like I don't approach it with this huge AA sort of feeling,
Yeah.
or
Bit
NA
more
feeling
authentic.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm more of like, I'm doing it because I dislike the feeling of being intoxicated.
Gotcha.
I now that's where I'm at. I got to that point, and so I appreciate spirits, because it's, the industry, food and beverage industry, has been a choice of mine, because I love it. So I find myself still, like, I will have like an ounce of wine to taste it, like, hey, here we go, yeah, that's
Something
nice.
like that. Yeah.
But
Not the
I put it down,
intoxicating
I don't
effects.
even finish it.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's about appreciation and understanding, and allowing yourself to go, I have the option to do this if I want to.
Yeah.
But guess what? I don't want to. I have a half a bottle of gin that's been sitting in my cupboard for a year and a half.
I'm sure anyone in AA would be very jealous that is how you can roll, but that's awesome. Good for you to have that willpower too. But it's also, maybe once that shift happened for you, it's not so much willpower, it was just a shift in perception. Maybe is that kind of what it was, or what would you say?
I think it becomes, for me, I'm a bit competitive too. So, like, I want to compete with my personal best.
Yeah, awesome.
So I'll go like, hey, I can do better than that year. Now I can do better than that year and a half. Actually, now I'm like, it's like I tricked myself.
Yeah.
And Anthony Robbins talks about anchoring, right? Like doing these, like switching your anchors from one habit to another, so say where you really enjoy drinking and it makes you feel happy, but then taking those anchors and applying them to something else.
Something else that makes you feel happy. Yeah.
So you take those away from it, and you got to do it, acknowledge that that's happening.
Right.
And go, okay, well, you know what? I've moved all of these anchors over to something else. So, now I lift in the gym, and now I do all these different things. I like to run. I like to bike. I like to hike.
All these other things that make you happy that don't cause you to have a hangover the next day where you can't do any of those things.
Yeah. Like, I'll tell you, a year and a half ago, I would have been, if you wanted to walk across the city, I'd be like, oh man, come on, let's take an Uber.
Yeah. No,
for
it's
a 20-minute walk.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. That's
Hmm.
awesome. And that, yeah, it takes like that little shifts turn into big shifts eventually. So,
They do, and it's all about microdosing these
yeah.
things, like just
Yeah.
like doing like
I'm
little
like, we're
bits.
still talking about making choices,
Yes,
right? Or are we
yes, we are.
talking about
Still talking about making
are we
choices.
talking about, yeah, that's a whole other podcast.
No, we're talking about. I'm talking about like doing it in like little bits,
In
like micro
small
steps, like
increments. Yeah, for
small
sure.
increments.
Yeah.
Um, and when I'm teaching people how to change the way they eat, it goes, hey, what I want you to do for the first little while is just write down what you eat.
Yeah.
I don't
So
want
it
you to
brings
change
awareness to
anything.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just want you to bring awareness to that, right?
Mhm.
And then we get into adding in, hey, so what I want you to do is look at something before you buy it in the grocery store. And if it has nutritional facts on the back,
Mhm.
I want you to put it down.
Oh, that,
And then I
yeah.
want
Just
you to pick
that.
it. And then I want you to think about whether you need it or not,
Yeah.
whether it's going to be a healthy choice, because I want to focus on whole foods.
Whole foods. I was going to say, yeah, no processed.
I
Yeah.
want everybody to get into eating as whole as possible. And then once you can get to as whole as possible, because it's not entirely possible
It's pretty challenging. Yeah. I even eat well and I find it really hard.
well, I mean, like even your rice comes in a bag with the nutritional supplements
Yes, it
the
does.
nutritional facts on the
Definitely.
back of
Yeah.
it. So you can't completely cut that out.
No.
It's going to still be there. The thing is you want to make them acknowledge what's going on there.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then once they start getting to that, then we can go, okay, well, here's some portion sizes you should be eating.
I have a really hard time with that part.
Put your fork down between each bite.
My brother actually was talking about that with me not too long ago because that was one of his little incentives for him losing weight. And I was like, interesting. Yeah, I don't do that either. I probably should.
I'll be honest, for me, and that doesn't work for everybody. Ketosis really helped. Like I dropped 40 pounds instantly.
Oh, holy. Wow.
Yeah,
Good
like
on
within
you.
like 2 to 3 months.
Right on.
It is a sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I cannot attest to, and I will not attest to whether it's healthy for you or not.
Yeah. And each person, it's such an individual choice too. And and just like if it's,
Yeah.
it's doable.
There's so many people out there, trainers going off on a tangent and doctors going holistic doctors going off on a tangent about, paleo diets and meat diets and stuff like that. And to me, it seems a little risque because the science out there isn't 100% proving that it's completely correct for you,
Yeah.
for everybody, or it's
For
safe
everybody.
even,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For everybody in general. So I did that. I went almost completely protein based, like,
Oh, holy.
then I went vegetable,
Which is carbohydrate, but not the common.
but then I added in meats only when it was really quality.
Gotcha.
And so now I'm full vegan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can attest to how I feel and how everything works for me.
Yeah.
From
But it's
the
not
whole
necessarily
spectrum
going to
of it.
work for, everyone.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if being vegan is going to work for me.
Yeah.
We'll
It's all
see,
it's all an experiment.
Yeah, it's an experiment, and I think that people that can experiment on themselves, I would rather listen to them before listening to somebody else who has a theory.
Exactly. And so how far how is veganism going for you?
Pretty well, actually.
Right on.
Well.
Cool.
I'm lifting heavy in the gym, squat every other day.
Awesome.
And
how much do you squat, bro? Just kidding. I just wanted to say that so badly.
Do you squat, bro?
Do you squat, bro? Do you really squat, bro?
I'm just over the halfway mark of last year's max squat. So
awesome.
If I beat last year by the end of the year, I'll be happy.
Right on.
Because
are you in CrossFit then?
No.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I'm over 40. I don't think I.
Well, I tried CrossFit actually for the first time when I think I was 39, and I went a few times. It was like a lot more team environment. I'm more of a solo gal myself, and I just kind of like to go to unplug and not pay attention to anyone else. And CrossFit was very team oriented, which is awesome for some people. It just doesn't work well for me. But I did notice, and I shifted my booty, so I wasn't pissed about it. There's a lot of squatting going on.
No, nobody's complaining. And I've even noticed it too. I'm like, oh, What's up? How's it going there?
What you got back there, caboose? Right on. Well, any kind of physical activity is good physical activity.
Mhm.
I was running for a really long time, and probably like since I can remember, since middle school at least. And it's always been my way to clear my head. But I noticed I wasn't really clearing my head because I was out there running, and I started trail running in high school and having headphones in. So I'm listening to music and I'm going through the woods real fast. I got to pay attention to where my feet are, where my dog is. And I'm not out there clearing my head anymore. Like it, and so I started
Yeah.
walking and hiking a lot more recently, and just like no music and just getting out there and actually clearing my head and doing exercise in other ways, that are probably a little bit more, probably working a little bit better for my body. Running,
Mhm.
I don't know if running really keeps you in shape. It's good for your lungs, but
Yeah,
walking is better.
I used to actually do a lot in high school. Like I was on the first public school rowing team
Oh,
in
wow.
Ontario,
Yeah.
getting scouted for Team Canada.
Awesome.
I trained in martial arts on
Oh,
like
wow.
outside of school,
Oh, wow.
and I even played football for 2 weeks
Holy.
until I was like, hell no, I don't do team sports.
Yeah.
Like,
Scare
yeah, it's
team
not a
sports.
thing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm used to being out there on my own and like
Yeah.
sparring with people and stuff. So I'm like, just no, no, no.
That's funny.
But the food and beverage industry, when I got into it, really took me out of that.
Yeah. I bet.
I was super focused. I was like, oh, this is the career, the path that I chose. I love this. I'm super romanced by it. And, the toxic masculinity in that environment
Hmm.
takes over. And,
Especially if you were in the kitchen too at first.
yeah,
Yeah,
I,
especially
I
back
was at
there.
an age, I was at an age where I was easily influenced at that time.
Yeah.
And,
With
you
all the
know,
substances that flow through the kitchen.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I was actually pretty good. I was just mostly a big stoner.
Yeah.
But I think that over the years, you kind of there's a ladder that you climb a little bit when it comes to that.
Yeah, true enough. I climbed that ladder, but I was pretty young and
Mm.
it was high school. Yeah, so for me I didn't actually do a lot of the team sports. I mean, I'd be on a team for a hot minute, but you know, raving and beach took precedent over that by
Oh,
far.
I was so
Well, I'm,
jealous. As soon as I got out here, moved out here to BC 7 years ago, I was like, holy crap! All my friends out here grew up with this environment, and I grew like I mean, not to say that I didn't have a country lifestyle,
yeah,
but a majority of it was inner city,
right.
right?
Which has
So
its own blessings too and its own beauty as well. Like I find anyways, I was a mix of both. In California, I was outside of the city where I lived, but we spent a lot of time in the city. And so I got to have both, but I really loved both.
mhm.
I don't know, but let's not sell anyone on BC. We got too many people
Yeah,
living here as it
right.
is.
Yeah, no,
BC
don't come to
sucks.
BC
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, nobody comes here. It's awful.
Yeah, no,
It's a
no,
horrible
it's
place to live.
terrible.
It's
It's on
actually way too.
fire all the
It's actually
time.
way too expensive, realistically, for most people
Hmm.
to sustain living here. A lot of my friends. That's a whole other topic. But a lot of my
Um,
friends are hightailing it east because they can't afford to buy a home here. So that's too bad.
yeah. Well,
But back to floating back in and around before I get too off topic, because that's
mhm.
what I really am good
Yeah.
at.
Well,
Squirrel. Hey friends, I thought this was a great time just to jump on quickly and request that if you're enjoying what you listen to, that you please come find me on Instagram at eq.cast. I am on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. A quick search for EQcast will find me. And if you are loving what you're listening to, which I'm sure you are, please feel free to share this with a friend, tag me in your stories. It'll really help me keep this podcast going in the future. And if you're on Apple or some of the other platforms, there's too many to name. If you're on some of those platforms that allow for reviews, that is the kicker. That's the way I will really get up the ranks for this podcast and get to be shown to a wider audience, which would really help me out and keep these beautiful guests coming back for more. So without further ado, back to your scheduled programming. Thanks. But yeah, the imposter syndrome. So how do you personally end up talking yourself out of it? Kind of like, is there like anything that you,
well, there's something that I like to remind myself of is that all of this energy that's around us, the wealth the wealth of like paper wealth or the wealth of like um, spiritual energy and mental health and stuff, it's there for everybody to take.
yeah.
And you really have to believe that
Mm-hmm.
it's there. And if you don't have that ability, that thought of understand that feeling of understanding that and understanding what it is, the imposter syndrome always wins, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh
It's
well,
like, it
what,
can be
like
locked up.
I'm not worthy of being wealthy. or I'm not worthy of being spiritually enlightened, then you're not going to be.
Exactly.
And so I kind of have that talk with myself often where I'm going, hey, this is available to everybody, you know, and I see people that I know that, you know, like are close to me that I have got that concept.
Yeah.
You know, and it works for them and they're doing really well. And so it's nice to be able to have that in my life. Other people don't.
Yeah, to have those influences, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I
to have
agree.
those
Even mentor friendships, however
mhm.
they show up for you, even just having your peers to be, you are who you surround yourself with, you know, and if you're going to surround yourself with people who are building themselves up and who are building something with their life, then eventually that's
so
what's happening.
That's where I like to go with people.
Cool.
That's where I go with myself. You know, not every day is a bright, chipper day.
Yeah,
You know,
of course not.
but you know, I make a point of listening to other people that I admire that have made it.
Yeah.
And listening to them talk on podcasts.
Yes.
Like
it's a couple of your faves.
Finding Mastery for one.
Oh, okay.
And the Rich Roll podcast.
I listened to those.
They talk to people that are extremely successful.
Cool.
And I'd say every one of them talks about imposter syndrome. And these are these are like fucking astronauts. And shit, right? Like, these are like big people, right? These are like people that do crazy ass things.
Yeah.
You know, play on NFL teams or like coach NFL teams or like they do sports psychology with like superstars all the time, or like,
and they still have it.
And CEOs of massive companies, and they're just like they still are like, holy shit, who's this person?
Here? Yeah, I feel like a fraud.
I'm 100% a fraud, and it's like hearing them say that.
It's just like, oh, what a relief.
My biggest advice to people is if that's what you're feeling, go and listen to these podcasts.
Yeah,
like seek them out.
People who have made it that do feel that way,
and listen to them and go, wow, you know, I'm definitely not alone out there.
Definitely not. And that's probably the biggest hurdle right there. You know, the abundant mindset comes into play when you realize that it's just a state of mind, that we're limiting ourselves in these little boxes, and we have the key to unlock that box. We just have to get over that hurdle, which is actually a big one. It's not like it's any small feat, like it, you know, and I don't think it ever really goes away. We just learn how to differentiate between the fact that it's a pile of shit talking in our brain over the reality of the situation is that we're capable of accomplishing whatever we want, but it's connecting.
What's the old story of Milo? You know, this goes into the training thing a little bit, but it's very applicable here, where he carries the calf up the hill every day, and it slowly gets heavier. But like months later, he's carrying a full-grown bull up the hill.
Yeah,
and it's really easy, right?
Because
and he looks back and he's like, "Whoa, I'm doing this, right?"
Yeah,
that's how this is. Getting over imposter syndrome is like that. So like once you take that leap, you know, because motivation isn't a real thing. No. You know, like people like go, "Oh, I'm gonna listen to this motivational thing," and it's like gonna pump me up and I'm gonna go out. No, you gotta actually step off the cliff.
Yeah,
you gotta like go, crap. You know, I gotta grow wings real quick, and then the motivation comes from that.
Right, that makes sense.
So the wheels starts turning, and the cogs, the machines start going, and then you get a little dopamine hit, a little success, or a little
makes you want to go after it a little bit more.
You go after a little bit more and a little bit more, and then as you're going, and like you and I, we're going after it, we're getting there.
Yeah.
And you know, like you've got many more episodes in your belt than I do, for example, and it's definitely got to be a good thing for you, because you now have the machine going where you're like it's still mine aren't as long as yours, so I'll, you know, tit for tat, but it's still I know each person just has their own, like, I don't know what I was trying to say there, kind of has their, and you have like a lot of other things going on too, so you're accumulating things in a bunch of different areas that are building you all up within the same totem, you know what I mean? So that's amazing. But yeah, it is. It's taking that step, and it's kind of doing a little bit by little bit, and then accumulating and trying to be consistent too, which I struggle with. I don't know why I do, but I just struggle with being consistent.
And this podcast has actually really been a test to that, to try and stay weekly and whatnot. How often is your podcast released again?
I'm gonna go with bi-weekly right now.
Bi-weekly. Okay, right.
So every two
Awesome.
weeks.
Cool. And yeah,
Because
and that's
that's
consistency, and consistency helps build that calf into a cow, you know?
exactly. I mean, that's how I go to the gym too. I go up 5 pounds every time.
Awesome. Good for
Yeah.
you.
If I don't go up, stay there until I go up,
Yeah. Yeah.
or I go down. I
Yeah.
cut down, I deload, and I go down for a week or so.
Nice.
But it's another thing another like small quick tip is building. It's like chess. So I realized that I also had to build a way to sustain what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to build another business off on the side
Cool.
that is happening slowly, but once it gets there, will help sustain this because I'm doing this out of the pure goodness of my heart.
Awesome. Yeah.
And
Service, giving back. I bring it up a lot in this
you gotta pay it forward.
Yeah, 100%.
Feel like I've been taking my whole life in terms of also the man, if you want to say, has been taking from me, I guess, for some point, for a long time. But now that I've had this sort of awakening, I guess you want to call it, you start realizing that the more you do out of gratitude, and the more you do out of paying it forward, things just line up in front of you.
Doors end up opening. I've noticed. Yeah, things do open. The whole universe seems to get a little bit more expansive, and it's kind of interesting how that all unfolds. Very cool, though. Well, it sounds like you got a lot happening in your realm. And did you want to mention your new business, or is that something that you?
My new business isn't quite ready to talk about yet. But it's a private label brand, so
cool. Yeah, I'm intrigued. We can talk about it off camera, and you can come back when it is when the ball's rolling. And
definitely. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag
no,
yet,
definitely a good idea. We didn't really pre-chat about what we were going to chat about. Right on. And I was going to ask you actually just what moving away out of the imposter syndrome realm, because you gave some wicked tips there. I really appreciate that. And I think just the last thing I wanted to ask is, what are your kind of tips and tricks for sticking to a healthier, more conscious routine? Is there anything that you can advise people on to stay in the mindset of making better choices?
Yeah, I think, we were talking about it, like people have to get to that spot on the space on their own. Like I will never work with anybody who's kind of wishy-washy there.
Yeah.
It's sort of a rock bottom for a lot of people, or a coming to Christ sort of moment where they're like, oh, you know what, shit, I got to do this, or I want to do this. And I see the value in it. But what I tell people a lot and I remind them of is like, hey man, you deserve this.
Yeah.
Your friends and family deserve it, because health problems are a very real issue.
Yes. Especially,
everything is applicable through the gut, is treatable through the gut.
Yeah.
And what goes into your mouth.
Yeah.
And I keep telling people, you are what you eat, and it's 100% real.
Yes.
It's not a joke.
It's not just
like,
a cliche
I'm a fish,
thing.
like I'm eating a fish and I'm gonna grow some gills. No, it doesn't mean that.
No.
It means, if you're not paying attention to where your fish comes from.
Yes.
I'm not gonna knock on eating fish. I'm not gonna knock on eating chicken or anything like that. I'm gonna say, well, you know what? I'll eat deep fried food every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Does it disagree with me? Yep, it does. But we build up tolerances to that stuff too, right? Like, when I was in my super lowest unhealthy moment there, and I tell people about this stuff too. I'm very open about my history when I talk to people, and that's something I think that finds it that people like about it. It's because I'm willing to go, you know what? These are the paths that I took before and it didn't work for me, and this is how shitty it was.
Yeah, learn from my mistakes, and I had to dig myself out of this hole. And then if you can, preventative is a lot easier than having to dig out of any like health deficit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like somebody coming to me that's got diagnosed as a pre-diabetic, it's like you can fix that.
Yeah.
you don't have to go on insulin. Like
Yeah,
there are ways about this,
there
but you
definitely
have to
are.
not want to live off. You do not want to have to like
You have to change your lifestyle.
you want to fully realize that your future could be eating meds for your dinners, your
Yeah,
breakfast and dinners, right? Instead of eating a nice breakfast or a nice dinner,
yeah,
it's and I think once people start getting that picture of, well, maybe I could be around for an extra 10, 20 years and see my grandchildren or my niece and nephews grow up and all these other little things, joys of life that once you hit, I think for me, it was like my mid 30s to now sort of thing where I
God,
started
yeah, same here.
realizing
I
like,
was pretty much about the same, and I'm
kind of
still
want to
working
see
on
these
it.
things now.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I didn't give a shit about them before because
no.
my ego was so huge that it was basically bashing me
You
in
were
the liver.
inconsequential. You had no consequences
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're all ego. You could
I mean,
survive anything.
my
And you're just
my roommates used to call me an alien.
like,
Well, that's a whole other topic.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I do is like when I'm talking to people about just reminding themselves why they're in it and why they're doing it, and we need to
Yeah,
kind of have that, like, even if a mantra works for you, like,
definitely.
you can
It's probably
create your
it's
own.
grounding, to
Yeah,
revisit that push, that purpose.
and words are magic. Like whatever you say and put out there into the universe will come back and manifest itself.
100%. And whatever we're telling ourselves manifests within ourselves too, which is a scary thought, but I know
Yeah,
it's true.
definitely.
And yeah, that's something I'm working on as well, is changing that inner dialogue, which it's hard to really differentiate what's an inner dialogue because it goes on
Hmm.
subconsciously, just it's on autopilot. So
Oh
it's
yeah,
becoming
and
aware of that. And I've done that through meditation more recently. And it's just becoming, oh shit, I'm saying that to myself. Oh,
mhm.
God damn.
Yeah, and understanding that you're not a failure if you have an anxiety
Yeah,
a
God, no.
day filled with anxiety and you don't get shit done.
God,
Who
no.
cares?
Take
There's
that
another
day.
day. There's
Yeah,
another
it's
day.
another day. Totally. And take that
There's
day.
like you
Roll
call
for the rest.
Domino's
Yeah.
and like crush a pizza.
Yeah.
Is another day.
It's another
Like
day.
who cares? I
It's
don't
not
care.
give yourself a tiny kick in the butt, but don't condemn yourself
Yeah,
for all
I'm not
eternity.
gonna shame you for that either.
No.
But I
But
mean, yeah,
if you keep doing it, maybe, yeah,
yeah,
make
if
it
you
some
keep
shaming.
doing it, if you
Tough
keep
love
doing it,
then. Yeah.
yeah, like that's the thing where I talk with friends about. I have a friend recently went into relapse. Like she was going sober, and they were going home in their relationship, and this person went right back into their habits from before,
Yeah.
and that's when you got to ditch that person. That's when you got to
Yeah.
kind of like set a boundary. You
Yeah.
can still be their friend and tell
Yeah.
them that you're going to be there for them, but when they come right back around to it, but they know better.
Yeah. That
They know
might give
better.
them some motivation too, because if you're losing people out of your life because of your bad habits,
Mhm.
there's something to be said there, and that might just be the motivation that they need. Anything else can be enabling. I mean,
Mhm.
there's obviously going to be, if you're married to somebody or something, like you don't just, it's hard to kind of bail out on a marriage, but I mean,
Mhm.
you can still not enable within a marriage and still stay committed, but no, definitely, because there's a boundary with enabling there with relationships. And what's even toxic for you too, as an individual, if you're surrounding yourself with someone with a habit that's not conducive to your current lifestyle,
Yes. Even
and
even
they're
if
not
it's
willing to look at it or anything, then
mhm.
that's different.
Even if it's not making you join them in those bad habits,
Yeah,
it's still impacting your progress in your life.
it can. Yeah,
And you have to be selfish in that manner. You have to be able to be like, hey, look,
this isn't
it's
working
not
for
working
me.
out because it's stopping me from making my progress, and I'm constantly picking up your shit after you.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's
truth.
it's sad sometimes when that happens.
Sad sometimes for sure, definitely. I've only had to do it a couple of times in my life, and now I just hope that if there is a relationship that's close enough to me, that it would be something to work through together. To be like, hey,
Hmm.
look at this nasty old thing we got going on here. What can we do to support each other and get each other through it? That to me seems like a good way. But if someone's not even willing to acknowledge that it's shit, then I did a little hand snipping thing, but no one could see it because it's a podcast. Snip. But
Hmm.
anyhow, Well, awesome. I think we're coming up to half hour here. That just flew by. This less
Yeah,
interviewee
well,
way.
I was going to say,
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
careful,
Sorry. Like,
because then your podcast could end up as long as mine.
I know. Well, they really can, and I don't have an issue with that. I just for right now I was trying to keep it to around half an hour, and I don't even know why. I think it was just I'm testing. I'm in the testing stages right now, just to see how things go, see how I feel, see how guests feel, and it seemed like a good cushy point. But I think our Zoom is technically just going to end in 7 minutes because we started late, or else I probably
Yes.
would keep going. But
Oh yes, I totally forgot about that.
yeah, yeah. Whoops.
Whoops.
But yeah, I think in the future I'll just test it out, see how it feels, see whatever kind of works right with me, and especially with YouTube, test there too. And it's just all new stuff and pretty exciting, all new stuff. I'm really happy with doing my podcast. How about you? Are you loving it?
You know what? Yeah, yesterday was a little shaky uploading. I was like, oh God, here goes. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, I
'cause you have-
suck at editing and producing this. But then I did it. I just clicked the send button.
Oh,
It's
instead
like,
of editing it, awesome. Good for you.
Just like the publish. Well, I edited a bit.
Yeah.
There's a couple things that I had to cut out.
Yeah.
Which was good. You know, like in the future for like future stuff. Like it's like, you know, kind of gotta like look at, you know, when you talk to guests and be like, hey, you know, sometimes maybe not mentioning a name.
Yeah,
You know?
definitely.
Yeah.
Just things to take note of. Yeah, there was a couple I've had to cut out some chunks, and then moving forward, I put in different things in my email before we go out. Just make sure whatever you're saying, you're comfortable with the public knowing. Like this is because we talk about some deep shit. So it's like, hey, let's make sure that this is comfortable, just so I don't have to go back and edit. So it's good to edit, and plus you get to see where your own personal way that you show up can use improvement. I know it's really helped me editing my own. I promised myself I would do this for the next couple of years until I'm confident in my speaking capabilities. And I've noticed already, I've even this is episode 16, and already I've edited much less from the beginning than I have to now. Now it takes me an hour. I think the first episode took me about 30 hours to edit.
Wow, yeah.
Well, we did talk about a lot of things that needed to get cut out. So I learned that mistake right out of the gate. But yeah, anyhow, did we cover everything that you wanted to
mention? I think we actually covered more. Like
awesome.
I enjoyed the conversation.
Cool. I really enjoyed the conversation too. Thank you so much for randomly just even getting our mutual friend connected us today, because my original interviewee had bailed out kind of last minute. She told me a couple days ago or a few days ago, and my buddy was just like, oh hey, I got somebody who'd probably want to be on your podcast, and bam, here's Nate. That was rad.
Well, thanks so much, Christy.
Cool. Thank you so much. Right on. And yeah, no, I appreciate your time, energy, and all your wisdom. That was rad. And let's definitely keep in touch. And tell the listeners one more time where they can find you on Instagram. And I will put it in the show notes, but this is easy too.
You can find me at Nateski Pops.
Nateski Pops?
Which is my personal Instagram.
Oh, okay, cool.
And then Hospitality for Humanity.
Hospitality for Humanity with the number 4.
Yes.
Excellent. Awesome. And that's where his podcast is at. And yeah, we'll have Nate back when he gets up and running with his business.
All right.
Right on, buddy. Well, very nice to meet you and connect with you. Let's chat soon.
All right. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.